Welcome to Revelation Unraveled. I'm your host, William Tapley, also known as the third eagle of the apocalypse and the co-prophet of these end times. Yesterday, I received a very interesting message from one of my subscribers, and his name is Menon Charles Gomez, and this has to do with the premature death yesterday of the pop star Prince, and here's what he wrote. Not sure if Prince's death plays into any prophecy, Mr. Tapley, especially with reference to the prince in Daniel 8:11, which coincidentally has to do with the Pope's recent abomination, I think. I think you are right, Menon. Also, does Prince's symbol play into this too? Thanks and God bless. Well, let me talk about the symbol first. If you look up that symbol, which I guess Prince used as his name for a while, it is a perversion of the cross. It is made up of a male and a female form. And it's kind of a ripoff of the Ankh cross. And that fits with Prince's persona of being androgynous. That is both male and female. Now, I had never seen any of his music, but I did watch a few videos. And I really don't care much for his music, although he does put a lot of razzle-dazzle into his performances. So I'm very much surprised that Almighty God would use the pop star Prince, his death, to verify Bible prophecy. And yep, that's exactly what he has done. And I shouldn't be too quick to judge him, because now let me read what Bobby Bacha says, another one of my subscribers. Did you see where Prince died? He sang and wrote about the end times. In this millennium, Peace wrote songs about a dream he had of Judgment Day, party like it's 1999, where he said the sky was purple and looked like purple rain. He wrote a song called Purple Rain. He saw people dying everywhere, and he said the voice said 2000, and it will all be gone. Well, thank you very much, Bobby. You've given me a completely different perspective on Prince's death. I can see where it is possible that he would represent the Prince of Peace, and that would be Jesus Christ. Now, let me read the prophecy from Daniel that Menon was referring to, and this is very interesting because Prince's death is a verification of this prophecy, and that is chapter 8, verse number 11. Let me find this here. And it was magnified. Now, this is chapter 8, verse 11, as I said, and the it is the little horn, in other words, the Antichrist. And it was magnified even to the prince of the strength. That refers to Jesus, of course. And it took away from him the continual sacrifice. The continual sacrifice is the daily Mass, the Eucharist, in other words. And cast down the place of his sanctuary. Now, the Eucharist is the bread of life. Jesus said, unless you eat my flesh and drink my blood, you have no life in you. So taking the life away from Prince, the pop star, symbolizes taking away of the Eucharist from the Prince of Peace. Very much a fulfillment of that prophecy. And now let me look at, the only difference is that in that case, in chapter 8, the Antichrist is doing the taking away of the daily sacrifice. And this is a greater fulfillment of chapter 10, verse number 3, where the false prophet takes away the continual sacrifice. And Daniel writes, I ate no desirable bread, and neither flesh nor wine entered into my mouth. Obviously the Eucharist. In fact, I didn't discover this. I want to thank another one of my subscribers who brought this to my attention quite a few years ago. Neither was I anointed with oil. That refers to Pope Francis. He is not truly anointed. He is an interloper. He is the false prophet. Till the days of 3 weeks were accomplished. Now, the 3 weeks tells us how long this great tribulation will last, where we do not have a valid Eucharist. And in verse number 4, and in the 24th day of the first month I was by the great river, which is the Tigris. So this talks about the continual sacrifice being taken away from the prince. And we know that by reading chapter 12, verse number 11. So what is the connection between Prince's death and this taking away of the daily sacrifice? Well, it has to do with the date. 2 years ago, Pope Francis called that woman in Argentina, even though she was divorced and remarried outside the church, and told her she could receive communion. That was the first manifestation of taking away the daily sacrifice from the prince. That occurred on Easter Monday. I had predicted quite a few years earlier that the false prophet would take the daily sacrifice away from the prince during Easter week. That date was April the 21st. Prince died yesterday on the second anniversary of that date. That is the connection. That is not accidental. Almighty God is verifying that what Pope Francis did 2 years ago was found in Bible prophecy. And that's why Almighty God took the life away from Prince to show that the life is being taken away from the Prince of Peace. And as always, for those of you who would like to know more about my ministry here on YouTube, visit my thirdeaglemedia.com website.